Hello everyone, today in this video we will fight against the atmos character of our world around us, and today we will discuss about very important problem which manifests as follows. Many people not only in so-called third world countries but also in other countries that do not have strong geopolitical positions think we don't like this hegemon. Let's go to another one. Best case for this thinking, but not only the one following this pattern, are Latin American countries like Spanish-speaking countries, many of them, like in Bolivia, Peru, Colombia, and so on, Venezuela. People don't like American politics. In general, they don't like United States, but it doesn't prevent them from massively emigrating there to find a job, because life in their countries, due to the corruption of their elite and their own corruption, is miserable or close to miserable. But in general, as I said, geopolitically, they don't like presence of American forces and American influences. It has its deep roots in the 20s and 30s of 19th century, when the Latin American countries got liberated from the Spanish rule. And to get liberated, Simon Bolivar and other guys, they had to ask for the support from United States those days, in the 20s and 30s of 19th century, because Spanish army was able to defeat them because of the very simple reason. The main element of the independent movement in these former Spanish colonies, so-called New Spain, was consisted of mainly white, relatively opulent people who were having some possessions, and they were very often not very conservative. They were very often following Masonic traditions and were anti-clerical, and surprisingly, they were not treating non-white people living there in the New Spain. So majority of non-white people were supporting Spanish forces which wanted to restore previous order that was perturbed by the fact that Napoleonic forces conquered Spain during Napoleonic Wars, and Spain crown lost its power over the colonies in nowadays Latin America, so from Rio Grande to the Patagonia. And the liberation movement started, of course, as I said, driven by mainly non-conservative, not very Catholic white elite, and which wanted to create their own states and rule over the remaining populations, exploiting them, of course, as always. But why was it like this? Why these whites wanted to liberate themselves from Spanish? Because Spanish had in their colonies, such a stupid approach that even if you were of Spanish or Italian origin, because they have many people like this, but you were already born in the territory of former colonies, you were not allowed to, or it was very difficult to join the administrative population which was administering these territories, ruling these territories, because representatives of these populations were mainly born in Spain and they were coming from these families directly. So it was a sort of casta, so caste, in which it was really hard to get in. That's why once Spanish rule faded away, these white people who had some power and possessions rebelled against the rulers they hated, who treated them not so well according to their standards, and wanted to get some independence. But as I said, poorer layers of the society, in this case mainly consisted of colored people, supported Spanish. So Americans then intervened, and thanks to them, Latin American Spanish-speaking countries emerged. But there is a problem, because they have such complex. US helped them to gain their independence, but thanks to this fact, this elite that uh, mm, really was aiming and finally got this independence of these Latin American countries has adapted towards Americans and feels connected with them. And this fact opened the door for many interventions of powerful United States forces, agents, and so on to intervene in Latin American countries, of course, for the interests of United States, not for the interest of Latino people. And this fact is still in place to a larger or lesser extent even after 200 years. Since the times when these countries gained their independence. And many people, coming back to the main topic of the video, in these countries think, US is bad, so maybe we should collaborate more with China and Russia, of course. They will be better friends, better protectors, and so on. But they tend to forget that all empires, and nowadays we can say that we have three empires, US, China, and Russia, or Russia and China, how we want to say it. These empires work actually in a very similar way, simply they exploit the weaker ones, as Thucydides once said. The strong ones do what they want, and the weak ones do what they must. And it applies to any case, or in the relations between empire and weaker state, but there is a difference. If you are ally of United States and you play with them well, you live good. Please look at Japan, Germany, Thailand, and many other countries that are associated closely with United States. Gulf countries, they live so good that they very often their common citizens live with higher living standards than many common Americans, like Germans, like many Japs, like people in Gulf countries. So we cannot say that being a friend of United States if you are small, or being dependent in some sense, I should say, it's bad. But being dependent on China, please look at Burma, civil war and poverty. Being dependent on Russia, look at former Soviet Socialist Republic, and now Russia wants to grab some territories from them and influence them still more and more, even using military power. So we see how our current three empires act towards the weaker countries or towards their potential allies, and choice is ours. What we choose, because it's hard to gain pure independence now. But I'm not blaming Latino people for thinking like this. They have Russia and China far from them, so they do not know these details, how these countries deal with their allies in quotation. So they still live with this dream and manipulation by propaganda that working with Russia and China would be far more better than working with US, because their elites are so corrupted for the last 200 years. But they tend to forget that these elites don't care who pays them, don't care who supports them. They care only about keeping their own power. And if US would be replaced by any other empire, the everyday life of normal Latino people wouldn't change into better. And in most cases, I would say, like in the case of Russia and China in quotation protectorate, it would change into even worse than it is now. All the best, have a nice day, bye.